So England, to be fair, gave it their best bet, didn't they? 2 games, 15 goals. But I'm sorry, Albania at home, San Marino away. It just didn't feel like competitive football. So I'm delighted that the Premier League is back this weekend and is back in a big way for Arsenal. Liverpool away this Saturday tea time. One of, if not the toughest fixtures you can get in the Premier League. Our record in the last few years atrocious at Anfield. I know a lot of teams wouldn't have the best record at Anfield. We're talking about a team who in the last 3 or 4 years, Champions League winners, Premier League champions. But it's not that we've been losing at Anfield in the last 3 or 4 years. It's how we've been losing. Loss of 3-1s, 5-1s. Quite often what happens is Liverpool score in the first 10, 20 minutes and we melt. We fall like a deck of cards. And when we talk about what progress Arsenal have made, when we talk about how far Mikel Arteta has taken this squad, has there been an improvement? Hasn't there been an improvement? Am I being negative? Am I being a realist? Etc. etc. These are the games. These are the games where you can truly measure how far Arteta has taken this team, how much improvement there has been, and just where are these players at. I've always maintained that any of you who think the likes of me are being negative, that I just can't see the progress we're making, I've always said Arsenal can prove me wrong by winning games. Arsenal can prove me wrong by finishing the top four. They can prove me wrong by challenging for the top four. I maintain I will be the first person to hold my hands up and say I'm wrong if Arsenal end up in the top four. I just fear that Mikel Arteta, when push comes to shove, is too conservative a manager. But these are the games. These are the games where he can prove me wrong. Not at home to Watford, not at home to Crystal Palace, not even at home to Aston Villa or away at Leicester. But these type of games. And let me clarify that. I'm not being as black and white as saying, right, if Arsenal win, I'm wrong. Or even if Arsenal lose, I'm right. I don't think anybody should ever base an opinion on the short term of a 90-minute football match, because anything can happen in 90 minutes. You can play really well and then just be unlucky or get a bad refereeing decision. Equally, you can play really bad and get the rub of the green. So it's not necessarily just about the result, but I want to see something different from Arsenal when we go to Anfield. I don't want to see what we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't want to see the performance that I saw at the Etihad earlier in the season. I just mentioned to you, and you'll be more than aware, the amount of times we've conceded early goals at Anfield and then just fallen apart, where we didn't have the mentality to respond. So if I know that and you know that, then surely Mikel Arteta and his staff know that. So surely they've been having those conversations this week. So I don't want to see, the same thing happening time and time again. If it does happen, do we have the mentality now to respond? Or do we just feel sorry for ourselves? Do we have the bravery to demand to get on the ball? Do we have players with that character who are going to go to Anfield and go, you know what, I want the ball. I'm going to be the guy who makes a difference. I'm not going to be afraid to try that Hollywood pass. Do we have the leaders? I've always said that Aubameyang, Lacazette, great captains, great leaders in terms of, are they popular in the dressing room? Absolutely. But are they the type who in that first 20 minutes, half an hour, are going to be shouting, demanding that people get back in position, that we do the ugly things to stay in that game? I can't remember the last time we've been at Anfield and we could really enjoy it and maybe, you know, get to half an hour and really feel that we were in a game. And most of all, and I've often labelled this at Aubameyang, do the players genuinely believe that they are good enough to go to Merseyside this weekend and get a result? A lot of Gooners do. A lot of Gooners think this is a very good time to play Liverpool. We're unbeaten in 10. They've just lost to West Ham. We become very hard to beat, which I never thought I would say about Arsenal. But does Aubameyang, and the players genuinely believe that they can go to Anfield and win? You know, if you haven't seen the Arsene Wenger Invincible film / documentary yet, you listen to Henry, Vieira, Bergkamp, proper men, proper leaders, and how they approached this game, how they spoke about this game, what their mentality was. And this is why it's absolutely fascinating to me, because we got to be fair. This is, in terms of Arsenal, Mikel Arteta is fielding the younger squad week in, week out in the Premier League. So we just don't know. We just don't know if this is a step too far. We don't know if the Anfield crowd's going to be too intimidating. We equally don't know if the fearlessness of youth means we go to Anfield and pull off an upset. We don't know. It could just be a step too far. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating individually how players are going to respond to this occasion. And it's fascinating to see, have this team moved on where they've learnt the lessons and learnt the mistakes of the last few years. And then we talk about bravery. But it's not just the players who have to be brave. It's the manager as well. What does Mikel Arteta do? Does Mikel Arteta look at the last 10 games and go, you know what, we're in form, we're confident, we got players playing well, what the hell, we'll go to Anfield and believe we can win? Or does he revert to type? Does he go to a back three, a back five? Does he play Aubameyang and Lacazette, or does he sacrifice one for a defensive midfielder? Does Mikel Arteta just park the bus? In a way, he can't win because it's easy for any of us to just be wise after hindsight. I've heard many Gooners this week who just want Arsenal to have a free swing at it and go, you play, we play. If he does that and we get picked off by Salah and Mane, people are going to call Arteta naive. If he parks the bus and lets Liverpool have all the ball, people are going to call him negative. I just feel when push comes to shove, Arteta will always be a let's do this to not lose rather than let's take that extra gamble to win. Ironically, I think if we did have one leader who this week is going to be pumping his chest out and convincing his teammates we're good enough to go to Anfield and get a result, I think it's going to be Ramsdale. He's only 23, but I think he's got that leadership in him. If anything, I can see him getting too pumped up for this game. Delighted for him that he got his first cap on Monday. And I think by the time the World Cup comes next Christmas, he will be... I think there'll be like pressure from the media for this guy to be replacing Pickford. I do think we will go back to a back five. I think that's what Arteta has done in these type of games. His probably two best results as Arsenal manager, FA Cup semi-final and final, was with a back five. It's not necessarily negative because the fullbacks become attacking assets. And Arteta has shown that in these type of games, he can set the team up to be hard to break down. Defensively, we believe we're hard to break down. And then we can be clinical when we have the ball and counter on the break. I think a back three allows Ben White more freedom to step into midfield, spray those ball around like David Luiz used to do for us. He does that, Ben White, but in a back three, it will allow him more freedom to do that. Gabriel in a back three, but maybe controversially, I would have to put him on the right hand side of the three. And that's because I want to put Tierney in a back three, which allows me to keep Tavares on the left. I think Tierney has shown that he can play in that back three. He's had some great games in the back three. He can time to perfection. When the time's right, he'll switch and he'll get on that wing and he'll bomb forward. But equally, when he has to defend, and let's be honest, Liverpool are going to have a lot of possession. Tierney can defend. It's a compliment that I almost want this formation so I can get Tierney and Tavares in the team, because Tavares has done nothing wrong. But again, it's fascinating. Like, how will he respond? How will he respond to the Anfield crowd? How will he respond to if there's any adversity? It's one thing playing really well at home to Watford, but let's see how he copes. The same with Tomasa on the right. The same with Lokonga. I've compared some of his performances to very Patrick Vieira in the style he plays. But how will he respond at this level? I'm going to partner him with Partey. Ideally, with his injury record, we don't want to rush Partey back. I think if it was anyone else but Liverpool, we wouldn't. But I think we'll take the gamble. Remember, we're not in Europe. We've got the week off. And even if Partey can give us an hour, even if he can give us 70 minutes, I think just having his presence there psychologically helped the team. That allows Smith Rowe to be our number 10, our creative player, almost a free role. I'm still not happy. I'm still not comfortable that we're putting all this pressure, all the creative pressure on these youngsters like Smith Rowe and Saka. And I think eventually that will catch up with us. But Smith Rowe with Ramsdale is one of the informed gooners at the moment, adding goals to his game. And then this system allows us to play both Aubameyang and Lacazette. There's more than enough protection behind them to have two up front. I think Lacazette is crucial in these type of games because he will work hard, he will come back, he will press, he will give you 100% effort. Aubameyang on his own, I think it's not good enough. It's not good enough to just have 70 minutes being quiet and waiting for that one chance. I think Lacazette complements Aubameyang. I think Lacazette allows Aubameyang to kind of drift through games, and Laka does his dirty work. If Arteta did go for one up front, at the minute I would pick Lacazette, but hopefully he'll pick both of them. So, I still believe Liverpool will win and will win comfortably. I don't think that's a disgrace. I think that's where this team is at. I don't buy this theory that we're closing the gap on Liverpool. But again, winning the weekend and go above them, Arsenal are proving me wrong. I just, even more so than the result, I just want to see something different. I don't want to see the same pattern that we've seen at Anfield in previous years. I want to see from Arteta that he's learnt from that. I want to see that he's changed the game plan. I don't want to concede in the first 5-10 minutes and then just see us fall apart. If that happens, then nothing's changed. There's been a lot of games recently where I've accused my fellow Gooners, my fellow peers of overreacting, of not being humble, of being arrogant. These are the games where if you want to point out to me how the standards have changed, if you want to point out where progress is, you can point to performances like Anfield. And it's up to the players to go and show it. Are we going to see the same old that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years? Or are we going to see something different? Are we going to see an Arsenal at Anfield that we can be proud of? Let me know your prediction in terms of the lineup and the scores. Of course, the prediction table will be out in the next few hours. I am going for Liverpool 4, Arsenal 1, just because That's kind of been how the scores have gone in the last few years. That's how the pattern's gone. And I'm just not sure our youngsters are ready. I still think that, if Liverpool concedes an early goal, Arsenal would fall apart. I still believe that's the mentality. The first task then would be stay in the game. First 20 minutes, 30 minutes, do the ugly stuff. That's what I want to see. I want to see that Arsenal have learned. I want to see a different approach. I don't want to see what we've seen in the last few years. But prove me wrong, Arsenal. Let me know, guys, what you think. And enjoy your weekend. Take it easy, peeps.